Okay, today I'm going to be showing you how to make an authentic Italian Bolognese. And when I say authentic, this is extremely authentic. In fact, Italians came to my house and showed me how to make it. I'm calling myself the semi-GoPro chef because I don't have a GoPro camera today. So it's just a regular crappy video camera. Anyway, so we're going to start off with garlic, a couple cloves of garlic. Yummy garlic, fresh garlic, and I cut off the stems here, or the end, not the stems, the little hard edges of the garlic. One little trick that I've learned here is to take the knife, take your knife and put your palm down on it and smash the garlic before you try to take the skin off. And that loosens up the skin, and you can just pull the skin right off just by smashing the crud out of the garlic there. Then you can just dice it up into little, yeah, just dice it up, you know what I mean. There you go. Dice it up. Yay, diced up garlic. More diced up garlic. Put that aside. And I cut about half of a kind of a big onion, yellow onion. I find that the yellow onion is the best to use with the Bolognese because this is a very rich sauce. Just peel off the hard cover and dice your onion up. Yeah, this is a very rich sauce, very sweet and very rich, so we're going to use some very sweet and rich items in this. And that's kind of a trick to making the sauce, is like caramelizing a lot of the vegetable items, so the sugars kind of come out of it and sweeten up the sauce. Dice up your onion, dice up your garlic, dice everything up, dice it up. Celery, nice sugary sweet celery. Like I said, there's a rich sauce. We're going to use really sweet celery. Actually, I don't think celery has really any sugar in it, but yeah, good for the vegetable flavor and kind of bulk up the sauce a little bit. So very standard ingredient in Bolognese. So dice this crap up. So, actually I used about like one stalk of celery. You can use a couple stalks if you want to make your sauce a little bit more vegetable-y. Depends on how much vegetables you like. I like about a full stalk of celery. Then you take a carrot and put it on a cheese grater like this and grate up your carrot. You can dice it up as well, that'll work. But I just like to put it on a grater so it kind of turns into the mushy sauce a little easier than if you dice it up. So grate up a full carrot. Sorry about the pops on my microphone. Anyway, now we're going to take all those vegetables here and we're going to saute them in about 2-3 tablespoons of butter. And we're going to saute those things. Like I said, butter. We use olive oil as well, but the butter is going to make this like even richer. Like I said, rich. It's like a rich tomato sauce, as opposed to like a light marinara. This is kind of a rich, thick, sweet, and buttery, sweet and buttery sauce. So I'm going to put all the vegetables into the pan, saute them, kind of on medium heat until this gets going. Once it kind of gets stirred in with all the butter, I'm going to put a lid on here and turn it on to low and let it just saute on low for a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep sauteing this, checking on it every now and then and stirring it every now and then so that it doesn't burn. But we're going to basically keep cooking this stuff until it caramelizes. This is kind of an important part I learned about Bolognese, is that you let the vegetables cook until they caramelize. Once they start kind of getting brownish, I'm going to put a little bit of wine, about a half cup of wine, white wine in this. Some people use red wine, but it turns out a little too dark for me. I like the white wine. This is the way I learned it as well. I think the white wine is good to use. But put on low, just like a half cup. Now, while that's cooking and caramelizing, I'm going to cut up pancetta. You use thick cut bacon if you want to. Just find bacon that's, if you're going to use bacon, don't use the hickory smoked stuff. It'll add too much of a hickory flavor to you just find something pancetta or something that's or bacon that's not flavored. and you cut it up into little chunks. Now I use 3 different types of meats. A typical Bolognese will use a mixture of meats. Here I've got a little bit of ground lamb, some ground beef, and some ground Italian sausage. So all 3 of these meats, well 4 of these meats here, we're going to mix them together into one sauce, and that's kind of the typical Bolognese. It ends up being about almost 2 pounds of meat altogether. Between the pancetta, the lamb, the hamburger, and the sausage, pork, this ends up being, like I said, about 2 pounds of meat altogether that we're going to put into this very meaty sauce. I keep saying rich. Yeah, very rich sauce. Now this is getting to the point where these vegetables are starting to caramelize. I'm going to put a couple tablespoons at this point. Once the wine is kind of reduced, I'm going to put a couple tablespoons of olive oil in the pan. And we're going to saute this even more. Now this is a big trick here. These vegetables end up cooking for about almost 40 minutes, about 40 minutes, till they're all soft and caramelized and the sugars are really coming out of this. So 40 minutes later, thereabout, you'll see that everything's starting to kind of get glazed over, the sugars are coming out, and you have a very rich looking carrot mixture there. I'm going to put the meats in now. So like I said, the vegetables take about 40 minutes to cook, and then we're going to put the meats in once those have caramelized. And all the meat, we're going to drop that in and start stirring it in. And now, after about like 10 minutes with the lid on here, we put the lid on, and about 10 minutes later, check on the meat. And what you're going to do is just get this meat to where it's cooked through. I like to use a potato masher and just kind of break up the meat because I don't like big chunks of meat. And this is kind of very consistent sauce where everything's kind of broken up inside. So we're going to mash that up. We're going to pour more wine on it. Usually about a cup to actually about a cup and a half to 2 cups of wine here, white wine, till it almost covers the meat. It doesn't quite cover the meat. And then after that, we're going to pour in a can of broth. This is about a cup and a half of beef broth that we're pouring in. And then the big secret, I don't know if it's a big secret, but anyway, one of the things you have to do to a Bolognese is you have to cook it for a long time. Vegetables were cooked for about 40 minutes, and now the meat, before we even put the tomato sauce in, is going to cook for about, about an hour. Another hour this is going to cook, or more. Hour and a half, you're going to let that cook with the lid on. And the meat's basically going to get really, really tender, especially how long you cook this. After you put the tomato sauce in, you're going to cook it for a lot longer. But we've cooked this here in the wine and the broth for about another hour. So we're going to put the lid on, let that cook, let it simmer for a while, and on low, and keep the lid on. And after that, after about another hour and a half, we're going to put in 3 small cans of tomato sauce. It's probably about 2 cups of tomato sauce altogether. So I'm putting 3 of these small cans of tomato sauce in. And it's okay to have all this liquid in it. I'm going to put water into the cans and kind of wash out all the tomato sauce, because this is going to simmer. This is going to, if it has a bit more liquid, that's fine. It's just going to cook down. But you have to, as I learned from an Italian, they say when you cook the tomato sauce, you got to cook it till it's done. Now, yes, I am putting milk in here. I put about a cup and a half of milk into the sauce. Once again, the word rich again. This is a very rich sauce. So about those 3 cans of tomatoes plus milk, about a cup and a half of milk. And right now it looks like runny diarrhea, but it will look good later. Use my potato masher again. Mash everything down. Mash it good. Mash it real good. Yeah, mash it good, baby. And now we're going to add some salt. Probably a couple teaspoons of salt. It really depends on how salty you like it. I like a little bit of flavor there. And this, and then we're going to put in some, if you got like crushed black pepper, that's better for flavor. I'm just using the cheapo stuff here, but it's still good. So I'll put in about a teaspoon of pepper, just kind of salt and pepper to your taste, to your liking. Stir that in, and now this is where the sauce all comes together. After you stir all that stuff in, right now it doesn't look too good, but we're going to put the lid on, and we're going to simmer this stuff for a long time. About every like 40 minutes you want to open up the lid and stir this stuff. But we're going to cook this for about another 3 hours, like two hours at the very minimum, up to 3 hours. This is going to be the secret to a good sauce here, is cooking it for a long time. Some people will cook this like 4 or 5 hours. Just open up the lid every now and then, every 45 minutes, and you'll see the sauce getting thicker and thicker. If you've got a really good lid and after 3 hours you still have a lot of liquid in there, you can leave the lid off just a crack and let it reduce, let it evaporate. Now you look at this sauce that we're starting to get after about 4 hours, or actually this is about 3 hours of cooking with the tomato sauce. Getting a very yummy, rich sauce, and this really all cooks together and comes together after about like 3 hours. And after that, those 3 hours are done. After that sauce is starting to look really good and thick, boil some water. I like to salt the water to add a little flavor to the pasta. I like salt because I like to have a heart attack. So heart attacks are good. And I like egg noodles with Bolognese. Egg noodles is a little bit more traditional way of doing it because Italians usually make, well, when they make homemade pasta, they make the pasta with eggs. And anyway, so I like the egg noodles with this. Once again, the word rich, they're richer noodles. Boil the egg noodles, whether you make them homemade or just buy them in the store, whatever. Boil them. Egg noodles cook a lot faster than regular noodles as well. Anyway, so strain them. Grab your sauce, your boiling, beautiful, bubbly, thick, rich, tasty sauce. And I taste this along the way. Just make sure that it's not too, just make sure it doesn't need more salt or something else in it. But I'm going to put a few scoops of this sauce onto the pasta. Oh yeah, so good. Stir that in. Some people like to put it on top of the pasta on their plate and eat it. I like to mix it in. A little more traditional. People usually mix the pasta sauce into the pasta and then serve it that way, so it gets on all the noodles. So here we go. Yeah. And once that's done, once we scoop that up, this is great served with Parmesan on top. So grate yourself a little Parmesan on top. Parmeggiano Reggiano is probably some of the best Parmesan out there. If you can get Parmeggiano Reggiano, it's awesome. Yeah, very nutty flavor, very good. Maybe some crushed peppers or something on there if you like a little bit of spice. And there you go. Delicious. Very excellent food. And enjoy. Takes a lot of hours, but it's worth it. Eat food. Eat lots of food. Goodbye.